So, hello again from Sheffield, and today we're looking at the second half of chapter 11 of the letter to the Hebrews. So it's Hebrews chapter 11, verses 17 through to 40. Now, yesterday we saw in the first half of Hebrews 11 just how important faith is to living our Christian lives. And we saw that faith always honours God, and that I used the Christmas presents analogy and said that faith is this mix of assurance and anticipation. The assurance of God's goodness and love and anticipating what God is going to do in our lives. We hold on to the certainties of God and trust God for what is going to come. And we see then this huge roll call of the heroes of our faith. People whose lives lived trust and faith. People who honoured God in what they did, in what they said, and in who they are. And people like Abraham, who had this huge, massive promise that his descendants would outnumber the stars of the sky and the sand of the seashore, and yet he had no children. He was an old man, and finally this little miracle boy, Isaac, appears, and God says, kill him. And it's a horrific story, and it's a bit, somebody said once, it's like the first example of child abuse. It's a horrific story. Abraham ties his son to the altar, and just before he sticks the knife in, God says, stop. Abraham was tested right to the limit, and he proved his faithfulness to God. We have Moses, who led the children of Israel out of Egypt into the promised land. They went through the Red Sea. The faith of the children of Israel in walking through an ocean, trusting that they were going to be safe. The faith to put the blood round the doorposts before the angel of death passed over. Story after story after story of these heroes of our faith. And then we have this fantastic verse in verse 32. The writer says, what more can I say? What more can I say? I haven't got time to tell you. I haven't even told you about David and Gideon and Samson and Barak and so on and so on and so on. Barak, by the way, is not Obama. And all of these people who I could have told you about, but I haven't. And then at the very end of this chapter, we have verses 39 and 40. The writer says, they all trusted the Lord, but they hadn't seen the fullness of God's promise. Now, what's that mean? It means all of these people trusted God. They trusted in God's faithfulness, but they hadn't seen the fullness of God's promise. They hadn't seen Jesus. They lived their lives in the hope that God would send his Son into the world. Friends, today we live knowing that God kept that promise. Assurance, anticipation. God kept it. And we live today knowing that God always keeps his promises. And so the writer of the Hebrews says, if all of these people lived their lives in such faith and they didn't know about Jesus, then how much more should we live our lives trusting God? Because not only do we know about Jesus, we have the Spirit of Jesus within us. Have a great day. God bless you.